I don't know if there's anyone in my credit union that's like, oh, I want your job because it looks like so much fun, you know? Like they don't. They're like, no, I don't want your job ever because it just seems like way too much work, you know? And that's I think it just takes a special crazy person to want to do it. It's the perfectionist. Your daughter's going to be a female CEO. Just wait.
Honestly, I could see it. I could see it for sure. It definitely seems like something that could be in her future.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure my mom was on a podcast one time talking about me and my socks had to be on a certain way and like they couldn't be twisted or like the seam had to be perfect across the top of my foot and I'm still that way. Like this stuff drives me nuts. So I
Oh,
have
okay.
chilled out though. I have chilled out. I think the building could catch on fire at some point and I'm gonna be like, that's cool. Like next. Like
The place to start for sure when introducing Jessica Grostic, President and CEO of Copper Basin Federal Credit Union, is your numbers are just ridiculous. And I hope you appreciate this. And you look at the peer numbers, but if you look at some of your growth numbers over the past couple of years, loan growth of 29%, I think I saw 19%, 13%, an ROA, I think over the last 2 years of 2% plus, and like no delinquency really, and no charge-offs. Yet you have an average yield on loans of 6.8%. So you're going deep, right? Like you're not just making loans to A and B paper, you're making loans to the people who need them. So, I mean, it's just I think first just important to sort of point out how impressive that is, and hopefully you appreciate that you're doing an amazing job with that credit union. If I don't know if you hear that enough, but you really are. And it's really fun to look up on the NCUA's website, a credit union that's just really crushing it. So congratulations, that's really fantastic.
well, thank you. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. That means a lot. I don't have a secret formula, so I always hope no one asks me that question. How do you do it? Because I don't really know. I would say that 29% was very rate driven. So that was when rates were 1.59, well, teaser rates. So we booked some of those loans, but we see people trade cars now, which shocks me, but they're sitting at 2% and they still will go trade and we'll book a new loan at 6 or 7 and they don't care because they're tired of driving the same car, right? So and I'm
Yeah.
not sad to get rid of those 1.59s.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's sort of interesting, the sort of the car market, and just how people think about cars. It's not like a permanent thing, right? It's more like how they feel about their vehicle. And what's interesting actually is I think I read this a couple years ago. There was a study of people and how much happier they are when they bought their dream car. So they like interviewed a bunch of people with like Lamborghinis and Ferraris, and they ask them if they feel like they're happier because they bought that car, and like 9 out of 10 times the answer is no. That's not something you should communicate to your members,
No,
because cars do bring joy.
cars
But more
bring me
importantly,
great joy.
yeah,
I love cars.
yeah, and but more importantly for you guys, you're making loads to people who need them for transportation, right, and to get to
Right.
work, and that is really important. But thinking about your loan portfolio, how big are auto loans? And can you talk a little bit about, what your strategy is as it relates to doing auto lending at the credit union?
Yeah, so we have interesting dynamics with our members. We have middle to upper class and then extreme poverty in the counties that we serve. So we are we'll do $100,000 truck loan and then turn around and try to find wheels for somebody just to get to work, right? And that used to be like 15,000 was the minimum for those types of vehicles, and you can't find a dependable vehicle for that anymore. So we're, 20 to 25,000 sometimes. And we do a lot of homework for our members. Like we will investigate those vehicles, make sure they're dependable. They need to be vehicles that they can maintenance. Like they can't buy a BMW for $20,000. They probably can, but they can't afford the oil change in it, right? So
Right. Yeah.
we have to do a lot of homework around that and just education to help the members, yeah, find that. So we do a lot of marketing, the we say yes type marketing, come see us. And a lot of times what I found is members in the lower credit tiers, they don't care about the rate, and we don't try to take advantage of that, but obviously you have to be paid for the risk, but they just want to hear yes and they shop by payment, right? So what can I afford? I always want to get a direct deposit from those people because I do find my delinquency is people that are not committed to the credit union. They have their direct deposit elsewhere. And delinquency has had an uptick in the past couple of months, I've noticed, but it's really not from my lower credit tier people. It's my 700s. They either lose their job or they just give up. I don't know. I can't find them. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, well, whatever you're doing, it's definitely working. It's funny. I was talking to Terry Robinson previously for a different episode, and I think about her marketing,
Hmm.
creativity, and that's sort of like a commonality amongst some of these successful credit unions that I've worked with in the past. Is like the president has this creative like backbone or this creative gene. Like, where does that come from for you? Like, were you a marketer in the past? Like, did you have a background in that type of work, or are you just like a naturally creative person?
No, I'm lending background completely. So maybe that helps a little, but I mean, Terry's a rock star, right? So, um, I do enjoy marketing. So yeah, there is some creativity there. Just listening to what people are saying, and I'm resourceful, I suppose. I look at other credit unions, I look at what other people are doing to be successful, and then figure out how to apply that here. Um, Terry's unique in that she has iron workers, and that's like very brand strong and specific. And I tried that here, but like no one really cares about our brand, so to speak. Like it's community chartered, right? So it became more of they will help you. Like we kind of have that local, and that's like our niche, and that's what we advertise and market because we are unique and that there's no credit unions here. I'm the
Mm.
only credit union in 4 counties surrounded by community and regional banks. And a lot of people have relationships with those banks, but now they walk in the door and they can't get a decision or they can't talk with someone that they know anymore. So they come here even if the rate is a little higher, which normally we're very competitive, but they'll end up doing the loan here just because they want to support the local community and they want to be part of the credit union. I mean, we had what, 380 people at our annual meeting.
Yeah, whoa, that's
They're
crazy.
like,
That
they're
is
into
amazing.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, what were you serving at that annual meeting to get so many people to show up?
Yeah, just barbecue. We give away hoodies, which was pretty cool, but we didn't advertise that because I knew we'd have 600 people.
Mm.
But we do give away cash. But I mean, they do pay attention because I threw out like a crazy idea from the stage that wasn't very well thought through. And then someone called me out on it on Facebook like a few days later, like, hey, when are you going to start doing financial counseling here? Because we do financial counseling in one of the counties, but we were hosting our annual meeting at this event place. And I'm like, we could do financial counseling here. Just like said it out loud without really thinking or asking.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then people were asking like, hey, are you going to do that? Because we want to do it. Like, so, I think it's just being on their level. Like, we're all the same people. Our kids go to school together. We go to church together. We shop at the same grocery store. I know you, you know me. I mean, that it's a double-edged sword because also I can find you on Facebook too, and you're going to reach out to me and want a loan at 10 p.m. at night. But when you're delinquent, I'm going to reach out to you, right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I thinking back to that picture that was posted on LinkedIn. I think it was on LinkedIn or maybe it was on Facebook of your annual meeting. Remind me, how many members do you have total at the credit union?
5,700-ish.
5,700, right? I mean, so relatively small. Maybe not the smallest credit union by membership that you can think of, but still a small credit union. But and so to have that level of engagement at the annual meeting is really amazing. Like I think about my credit union that I'm a board member for here in Madison, and I think we get like 50, 60 people. The majority of them are pretty old, like the
Yeah.
folks that show up to an annual meeting. But
Mm-hmm.
my guess is, I don't remember from the picture, but I'm guessing you had young people there
Mm-hmm.
too, and so like it's not just a loan shop. Like you guys aren't just, this transactional institution. Like people really are engaged and interested in sort of the health of the organization. That's what that says to me when you
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of people that show up to an annual meeting. It's they care about not where, their money is like from a, product and service standpoint, but like they care about the organization that they're doing their banking with and how it's doing. So like
Yeah.
how did you get that level of engagement, or what is it about Copper Basin that lets people in and engages them at that level?
Um, I think it's just the the local feeling, like and this community's lost a lot. Like we have lost our hospital. I mean, we only have like one ambulance in one of our counties. Like, and everybody always feels like they're forgotten about. And I mean, we don't have pockets as deep as some of the community banks in the area, but we try to give back to the community. We do the Skip a Pay program where we donate those funds and pay off our members' loans. And I mean, word about that travels fast, right? So I think just being real and being transparent that we're here for you and we have the same struggles, we live in the same community, and they don't want to lose us because there's nothing else here that's community driven like that. And again, I mean, we have a long ways to go. I think we were the best kept secret for years and we did zero marketing. I've been here 22 years and we've doubled in asset size in the past four. We were very stagnant for many years before that. So no one knew who we were because we spent $0 in marketing, zero. Like it just wasn't a thing. But now we try to do billboards. I think we have a TV commercial. But all local oriented, right? So cable
Are you
network.
in the Are you in the commercial?
Unfortunately, yes, I'm in the very beginning of it.
Is this on YouTube? I feel like we're gonna put this in the episode. We gotta put this in.
It may be on our website. I'll find the link.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure it's on YouTube. Yeah, it's
Okay. If there's a break like at this section of the podcast, we're now showing this commercial that features Jess in it.
yeah, we have a local marketing company that we work with, which is awesome because they're boots on the ground. They work with several other businesses in the area, like I don't even know how many, but several. So they have a lot of network connections that they can hook us up with. But they came into our branch, set up like professional lighting, did a whole ordeal. And we had our members come in. We interviewed our members, just had very authentic, like we didn't tell them what to say. Here's, talk about the time you got a loan with us. And they just told their story. So we put
Mm.
that into a commercial. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Do you track like your ROI or your ROI for some of the advertising you do? So like could you tell me that the TV ads are the reason or are the biggest driver of interest and growth, or if social media, like where do you feel like you're spending your dollars the best when it comes to marketing? I bet a lot of people would want to know the answer to that.
Yeah, and me included. Yeah, it's so hard. I ask my new account people all the time, when people come in, how do they hear about us? And the
Mhm.
biggest answer is they were referred by a friend. which is always the best marketing. But also I'm like, wow, I'm spending a lot of money in other marketing dollars. We are, so with the company, we've been working with them for a little over a year. They're starting to track that for us, but just by loan volume. So let's just look at every month. We know what we're advertising during these months. Did we see a lift in, that segment of lending? But it's too early to know that. The TV thing's only been a couple of months, but I, I don't know. I don't know how many. To me, it's more like brand recognition. So they hear the name enough
Yeah.
and then they think about it later. But you just don't know when that impact is. Is it 2 weeks down the road or 2 months down the road? That's the hard part. So I think it's really hard to measure that. I will say texting is pretty great. So we have Q Cash and we did the Christmas loan with them. And
Okay.
so we have like our regular Q Cash loan that's like a payday lending loan, but we turned on last Tuesday, we turned on the Christmas cash. It's got a pretty good rate, like 9.99%, up to $2,000. There's a $50 loan fee to kind of help offset that rate risk. But I had set a goal with the team if we do 60 loans by the end of the year. Now, remember last year we did 9 Christmas loans in the entire holiday season. So it's like we do 60 loans by the end of December. I'll pay my staff each $100. But you
Okay.
gotta wear stickers, you gotta promote this, we gotta make it happen. We closed
Yeah.
60 loans in a week.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay.
Over a
I
hundred
mean,
thousand dollars. And those we didn't touch them. Like that's completely automated. So a hundred
wow.
thousand dollars in loans went out the door in a week. So I already had to pay them $100. And I'm like, okay,
Well,
60 more.
well earned staff of
Yeah,
Copper Basin Federal
yeah.
Credit
They're
Union. Way to
killing
go.
it. They are killing it. They're motivated. They're wearing their stickers though, and they're talking about it. It takes 2 minutes also. I mean, and anybody can help the member apply. So we have a lot of members that are not tech savvy. So they walk in the door and they're like, I heard about this, but I don't know how to do it. So we did text a link to that, and that was fire. So
Mhm.
texting is very direct and people respond to that. And we probably have like 800 or 900 people signed up in our text marketing.
Mhm. Mhm.
So we
Yeah.
get we get a lot of response from that. Social media is always good. You see a lot of engagement on there with certain things. So
Yeah, I'm definitely a big believer in, working for that business, and I think it's my understanding that credit unions in the past, they allowed the business to come to them because maybe they could, or maybe because that's just how things were done. People had to come into the branch, without the technology. I mean, they could make phone calls, but even that is sort of coming to the credit union, like the business is coming to them. But in today's world, when you're trying to provide sort of a digital experience and allow members to do as much as they possibly can remotely without having to talk to somebody, without having to come into a branch, that business isn't coming in anymore. And so you've lost those opportunities to provide education around different products and services that they might have access to as members. And so it becomes this need for you to then go to them. You have to go where they are now, that
mhm,
the dynamic has sort of flipped. And so, leveraging things like text, or even hiring, and I don't know if you have somebody like this on staff, or hiring like business development people to
mhm,
go out into the community and, just shake hands and educate people about the credit union, like that becomes, all the more important. um, I guess I'd be curious if you have a like a BD strategy, or if you have like specific people that do that, and kind of what their jobs are and what they're sort of doing on a day-to-day basis.
yeah. So I don't have business development per se, but I have member experience specialist, which kind of would be we don't do business accounts at all. So that's something we may look into in the next year or so. But she is very involved in like the local chamber, business after hours. Everybody knows her. And she's out there, spreading credit union cheer everywhere. And they remember and they tell their friends and they, come back. But that is she yeah, I think I've seen a lift when we like dedicate a person to that. I heard someone say one time that person should not even have access to the core or be able to work a teller drawer because they'll get pulled into the tellering side and then marketing always falls to the wayside, right? Unfortunately, she does have a teller drawer, but she spends like 90% of her time in marketing, business development. We have mini branch. So she monitors that and she's monitoring, all of our volunteer and going out and setting up things for employees to do. That's one thing too. So we pay a Christmas bonus every year, and part of that, there's some credit union defined goals that have to be met in order to get that payout. But there's also individual goals, and one of those individual goals is 4 volunteer engagement sessions per year. So they have to go out with the credit union and volunteer at some function 4 times a year in order to get their Christmas bonus. So
Oh, wow. I love
yeah,
that. Love that. Yeah.
yeah, so that helps out a lot too, because before that I'd get like, you know, the same 5 people always volunteered, and now we spread it around to where everybody, and the members love that. I mean, they love seeing you outside the branch and knowing that, that the credit union was there and you're part of the community. So I think that helps to raise awareness too. But
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it seems like a win-win. Obviously, it's a win for the community because you have, Copper Basin staff out there, volunteering and providing support in that way. It's obviously a win for the employees because they get their Christmas bonus. But beyond like the incentive of doing that work for the Christmas bonus, I imagine the staff love it, right? Or at least
they love
some of
it.
them. Some of them.
Yes, like
Um,
like our financial counseling, that's our loan people, and it never fails. Every time we do it once a quarter, and they'll text me that night. I mean, this is like, they go at 5 and they're there till 7 or 8 o'clock at night after they've worked all day. And they're like, this is the favorite part of my job. Thank you for letting us do this. And I'm like, really? You're thanking me? Like, thank you for doing it. But they have, so many people attend those. They'll have like 25 people attend their financial counseling sessions. And, I think everybody probably always hates having to do anything after work, but I don't think anybody's ever upset about it after it's done. They're always glad they did it. And, just gave back to the community. So it really helps live our mission and kind of stamp that in stone as to what we're doing and why we're here.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think it's definitely something we're seeing among successful credit unions is having that presence in the community. So I think it's a great strategy for sure. So, as we get to kind of the end of our episode here, I do like to ask some tougher, bigger picture questions. And the first one that I have for you is, what is Copper Basin going to look like in 10 years? You can take some time to think about that answer.
Well, my hair is
But
probably
have
going
you
to
but
go gray.
have you your hair is gonna be gray? Yeah.
Yeah, well, it
They
already
got
is.
they got dyes and stuff for
I
that, right?
know,
You
but
get a color.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I hope I'm
Yeah.
still here, right? I'll
Wait,
be in
what'd you say?
I hope I'm still here. I'll be in my mid 50s. So,
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
um, so yeah, I think in 4 years we've doubled. So we were 30, we're almost 60. Um, so in 10, wow, yeah, I don't know. Maybe as cool as Terry. That's possible. No.
I like that. I like the little friendly competition. See who
Yeah,
gets
oh, yeah.
bigger.
No,
Yeah.
like I never want to, I'm not like asset driven. I feel like you have to grow to survive. So,
Mm.
and I think the more you grow, the easier things can get as from a hat wearing perspective. So, we've just now reorganized so I have like 2 VPs, and until then, everything's been on my shoulders. So like that's going to be a great opportunity. I don't even know what that's going to be like yet, but I imagine it's going to be better. But as you grow in employees and staff, um, I do think that things could that could get better, but I just never want to lose that small credit union feel. But I know $2 billion shops that behave like a small credit union. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just think we have to always keep that in our mind and know what our mission is and know that we're, people helping people, which is so cliche, I'm sure, but really just that's why we're here. And we don't want to, we never can forget that. And that has to be instilled in every employee, from this day forward. And it doesn't really matter what our asset size is. It's what did we do to help our community and whose life did we change today?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's really irreplaceable. I mean, I remember, when I first started in credit unions, like the big conversation was around technology and like these new entrants in the market, the fintechs and, the investments that these large banks were making in sort of technology based financial services. And it was really scary. And, it was kind of fear mongering in a way. I mean, I think that there has to be a place for consumers and members to do their banking digitally, right? I mean, that is an expectation among members. But to lose sight of, the purpose of credit unions and the impact that they make on their members' lives, that's more existential than the technology. Because if you lose that side, then you lose the biggest differentiator that credit unions have. And frankly, if you lose that and you're just trying to compete on technology, you're going to lose that battle, time and time again. And so, a place to remain different and to sort of stand out from competitors in the financial services space is to lean into that impact and into, helping people in meaningful ways, that they'll remember, and that builds loyalty and trust. I think that's really smart. Um,
Yeah, and
so
I mean, it
last,
doesn't have to be
yeah.
anything big, that's the crazy part, is it can be a very small gesture that can change someone's life. I mean, we paid off a loan for a member that was $250, and he cried. He went and got his daughter, brought her in. Like it was a whole big deal. That was like life changing for him, right?
Mhm.
And just to be a small part of that was, I mean, it made everyone's day.
Yeah. Yeah. What does that mean to you? How do you feel when stories like that happen and you help members in those ways?
Yeah, I mean, just that we're doing something right. Like this is our mission. This is why we're here. And to hear the other employees say that too is very heartwarming. Like, they'll be emotional and crying, like, this is why we're here, guys. Like we're doing
Mm.
something right. And it just gives you, a little motivation to keep moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Okay, last question. The first part is, what are you most excited about as it relates to the entire credit union movement? And what is your biggest concern currently about the credit union movement?
Mm. Well, I know the concern right off hand, so I can answer that one. Um, how fast we're going away,
Mm.
and will I
Mm.
be here in 10 years, no matter how awesome I am?
Mm.
Just because of the expense of operating a credit union. So, an ATM costs me the same thing it costs a $2 billion shop. Like it's just, you have to be creative in the way you run your credit union. And I think that evolves over time. I have a lot of fractional employees because I can't afford to hire the talent that I need to be successful, but I need the talent to be successful, right? So I have fractional CFO, fractional compliance, collections. I will share whatever I can to ease that burden. But it does worry me. I don't have control over those fractional employees either. So if something happens and they leave and they're not around anymore, am I able to replace that? There is a level of expectance from members around technology. I mean, it's just simply is, and you have to have, maybe I can't have everything that the big banks have, but you have to have remote, deposit, and people want Apple Pay, and all that's expensive. So, and there'll be new technology and then we'll have to onboard that. So that's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
fear. Um, Also, like, I'm a human and I make mistakes. So one mistake, does that cost everyone their job? How big is that mistake? That weighs heavy on my mind a lot. Just, things are
yeah.
great now, but what if?
Sure.
You know,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Well, judging by your numbers and how things have been going at the credit union, it doesn't seem like you make too many mistakes, right?
Well,
Think you're doing pretty good. I mean, I know, offline, I know a couple stories that you've shared. Not that
yeah.
you've done anything, but I mean, but that's totally a part of your journey and a part of the
Yeah.
credit union's work, right? Like it's never going to be perfect. I say this to my daughter, my oldest daughter, Camden, who's turned 6 in 2 days. She's sort of a perfectionist, and I don't really know where that comes from because my wife and I aren't really like that, I don't think. Uh, but she has to have things like like a very specific way. Like if she's like brushing her hair and putting it in a ponytail, like can't have any flyaways.
Oh yeah.
Um, and things just sort of have to go the way that she thinks that they should go. And so I am constantly reminding her like it's not going to be perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. And that's I think it's an important lesson to life in life, hopefully for her. And for you guys, when you're working to help people and you're working to help people who are harder to help because they have, colorful credit or, it's just a tougher loan to make, like you're gonna make mistakes,
Hmm.
but the fact is you are doing what you can to help them. And I think that's really special. And so I think mistakes are like a sign of you're doing the right thing. You're heading
Right.
in the right direction.
Yeah. Well,
So
I
I
mean,
mean,
we call it tuition around here.
mm,
We paid that tuition to learn that
mm,
lesson, right? So
yeah,
just don't keep paying it. I'm like, I don't want a master degree in that. Like, I'll just take the tuition that I just paid. But yeah, it's
right.
gonna happen for sure.
Intro to collections or intro to repossession. Right.
Yeah.
That's all you need. Just the
Yeah.
intro.
Yeah, I don't need the full thing. And I don't remember the other question now. What am I most
The other question
excited
was,
about?
what are you most excited or most hopeful, or what gives you the most, you know, hope, about the credit union industry?
Um, Probably like the growth, and seeing like my peers be successful. And I mean, I guess they're kind of entwined with the scary parts too, like um seeing like my Kula sisters, like all the success there, the rock stars in that organization alone
Shout
to
out, Kula.
yeah, Kula, to ride on those coattails and see what I mean, they do some amazing things, right? So um I can't imagine the industry going backwards with some of those ladies involved. And unlikely that any of them would be merged. And like merger, we talked about this at Kilo the other day. Merger is not a sign of failure. Like that's, I would always be humble enough to merge before this credit union disappeared because I think
Mm,
there's need in this community. Now, could a large organization carry it on? Hopefully, we could find the right one if that happened. But um, I think credit unions are important. And I feel like there's a lot of focus lately on smaller credit unions. There's like a lot of people, like no, no credit union left behind, the umbrella man, like all that stuff kind of making a comeback.
mhm.
And it kind of does focus on smaller credit unions. So I'm excited about that, maybe we get some attention that we deserve and keep kicking ass.
Yeah, yeah, no, I think that's a great message, and I really love the what you brought up around mergers and how it's not a failure. I have talked to, especially when I worked for CUNA, now America's Credit Unions, like I would talk to these longtime managers and CEOs of credit unions, who would call me up and they would just say, I'm so tired.
Mhm.
I'm exhausted. Like, I think like initially they'd be calling because they're looking for answers. They're like, we're a single seg or we're in a rural community that's declining in population, and I don't know what to do. Do you have an idea for me on how we can grow or how we can be successful, or where we can turn? And I don't always have the answer. And as a matter of fact, I usually don't. Especially in the early days where I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Right.
I was really like just a hotline for people to call in and just like, unload their worries and their concerns and, their grief in a way. And I think a lot of those credit unions that I would talk to, those leaders would end up merging their credit union. Like I've talked to a lot of credit unions who, months later I would see on the NCUA report, the quarterly report on mergers, I'd say, "Oh, I just talked to that credit union, they merged. Oh, they merged too." And it's disappointing, certainly. Like it's kind of heartbreaking. But it is not a failure, because you think about how hard you work running your credit union. Like I know you bust your ass, keeping that place alive and growing it and doing everything that you need to do to make it successful. Those folks who were retiring and who ended up merging their credit unions were doing the same thing for decades, 30, 40, 50 years, just like killing themselves to keep the credit union open and to help their members, and like, yeah, they're tired. They should be tired because they worked their asses off and they have so much to be proud of, over the course of their careers. And that to me is not a failure whatsoever. It's inspiring. And like, yeah, we got to come together as an industry to help more credit unions survive and help them put in succession plans and, maybe help them expand their field of membership or partner up with other small credit unions or do the things that you have done, to try to, address your talent issues. Like
Mhm.
that all definitely needs to be done. But I think there's so much negativity around mergers, and I think we should also remember to celebrate these charters that have existed for a long time, and just be grateful that they were around and did such great work for so long. So I
Yeah,
think that's
I mean, just seeing that, I don't know if there's anyone in my credit union that's like, oh, I want your job because it looks like so much fun, you know? Like they don't. They're like, no, I don't want your job ever because it just seems like way too much work, and that's I think it just takes a special crazy person to want to do it. It's the perfectionist. Your daughter's going to be a female CEO. Just wait.
honestly, I could see it. I could see it for sure. It definitely seems like something that could be in her future.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure my mom was on a podcast one time talking about me and my socks had to be on a certain way and like they couldn't be twisted or like the seam had to be perfect across the top of my foot and I'm still that way. Like this stuff drives me nuts. So I
Oh,
have
okay.
chilled out though. I have chilled out. I think the building could catch on fire at some point and I'm gonna be like, that's cool. Like next. Like but yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it's a
Yeah,
process.
well, right. Well, if Camden, if she ends up, becoming a CEO of a credit union or whatever, I think we've got a good network to support her, for
Yes.
sure. So,
Yeah, we do.
um, yeah, we'll see. We'll see where she ends up. Well, anyway, thank you so much for doing this, and thanks for being here, Jess Grostic of Copper Basin Federal Credit Union. Congratulations on all the success. Good luck as you move forward, and appreciate you being here today.
Yeah, thanks for the invite. I enjoyed it.